Well, here we go again. Cold. It's supposed to snow this afternoon. I'm not kidding. It rained all night. It's been raining for days. I mean, tons of rain here. I've still got puddles in my yard. I've got standing water. And my grass is getting thicker and thicker. There's no way I can mow. The yard is basically a swamp. If I was to walk right out through there right now, my shoes would be covered in mud because my feet would sink right down into it. Welcome to springtime. I'm hoping for nicer weather today so I could ride. I got the bike all cleaned up though, looking pretty good and all polished up. Polished the chrome, polished the paint. It's ready to go, but I'm not going to ride it in this inclement weather, out in the rain and the crap. I'll wait for the sun to come back out again, and hopefully I think within a couple days here it's supposed to be sunny and back warm again, so I'll be back riding again. But today, the question I have to ask is, where did you learn how to ride? It's a question I've asked myself about a few people that I've ridden with. Where'd you learn how to ride? Because when I ride with them, their riding habits are like so bad. And I'm not talking about my riding buddies either. They're pretty good riders. But in the past, other people that I've ridden with over the years, I've noticed that their riding skills are pretty pathetic. Here's the thing about riding a motorcycle. There are people out there that have zero experience at riding. They've never had any interest in riding. And all of a sudden, in a later stage of their life, they think to themselves, you know what? I'm going to get a motorcycle and I'm going to go riding a motorcycle. I actually have a friend that has been wanting to learn how to ride. He's kind of intimidated about it. I've offered to have him come over and ride my mini bike around the yard because he's got zero experience at riding. But he's afraid to do that. But he talks about owning a Harley. He wants his own Harley someday. And I'm thinking, dude, if you're afraid to ride that mini bike, you shouldn't be on a Harley because, it does take a little bit of skill set, but I don't know. To me, the best riders are people who have grown up with the motorcycle. They started out as a kid and they just they have a love of being on two wheels and they've stayed with it. And those are the good riders. But when you get somebody in the middle of life that decides all of a sudden they're going to ride, I'm not sure if that's a good decision or not. I mean, more power to you if you want to ride a motorcycle, but there's just a little bit of science to it that it's a little more than just learning how to ride a bicycle, I had a guy at one time that had never ridden in his life and went out and bought himself a Harley Davidson, and he was going to be a biker. And I rode with him, and he was a terrible, terrible rider. He almost sideswiped into me one time and scared the crap out of me, and I had to, kind of chastise the guy a little bit and say, good grief, come on, you need to tone up on your riding skills because there's no reason that you should be coming into me like that. But as expected, his bout with riding motorcycles didn't last very long, and now the thing sits parked in his garage, and he doesn't even ride it anymore. It's just collecting dust. So probably all for the better. I've ridden with a lot of people, though, that just seem to have like zero skill at riding. You ride with these guys, And you can tell right away, um, when you see them going down the road and they can't hold their line. Um, there's these guys that just swerve back and forth from one. They stay within the lane, but they can't stay in the line. They're drifting over towards the berm, and then they drift back to the center line, and back and forth. Um, then there's the clowns that like to ride right on the center line. That's a whole different thing. It's almost like I don't know, like get out of the way, here I come, and you're coming head on into traffic, and you don't even move over. You just stay right on that center line. That's ridiculous. That's just taunting something bad to happen. But I've seen all kinds of riders, or the guy that you're going to park somewhere, and I got a buddy that's done this too. Um, the parking lot kind of slopes down to the curb, and he pulls straight in, drives right down into it, and parks his bike, puts the kickstand down. Comes back out later, and now he realizes he has to back out. When you're backing a 800-900 pound bike, he's like trying to get that thing out of there. I've learned in my experience that I never pull straight into a side. I don't even care if it's level. I always back my bike in, so that when it comes time to leave, I'm pulling straight out. I don't have to, try to back out into traffic or other motorcycles or anything. I'm sitting on my bike. I can see what's happening up ahead, and I look, and off I go straight. That way, if it slants down, my back tire's against the curb, I can shoot right out. So there's little tricks like that, but the main thing is, it's more about just learning how to ride a motorcycle. There's so many novice riders out there today that, and you can see, their focus is on riding the motorcycle. They're glued to, okay, this is the clutch and this is the throttle, and then I got to shift with this foot and I got to put the brake with this foot, and they lose focus of where they're actually going, and that scares me to death. And unfortunately, a lot of people have maimed themselves or ended up dead because of that, because they just don't have enough skill set at the time to be out there on the road. It takes more skill than just being on two wheels. Learning how to get up and ride a bicycle. There's a lot of, I guess I could call it rules of the road, but it's more of riding habits when you're on the road. Being able to ride extensively, being able to have eyes in the back of your head. I mean, you have to drive defensively and know everything that's going on around you. The operation of the bike should be something that you don't even have to think about. It becomes natural to you. So the operation of the motorcycle is something you don't even think about anymore. It's like driving the car. You don't think about pushing the gas pedal or the brake pedal. It just comes naturally to you. And the same with a motorcycle. Over time, you learn the clutch, the throttle, the shifting, and you don't even, it doesn't even really register with you. You just kind of know automatically what you're doing, and your focus is more on the road around you. So many novice riders have, probably a lot of them have lost their lives or ended up hurt or injured in cornering. You know, they come onto a corner way too fast. They haven't slowed down, and they don't know how to corner. Perhaps there's debris on the road, gravel or something, and down they go. It's happened. I mean, that's one of the things. That's one of the biggest hazards of being out on the road is the corners. And these bikers love to do what they call twisties. You know, I gotta hit the twisties, man. I gotta lean into these twisties. And you go down there to the Dragon's Tail that has like hundreds of of twisty turns. And there's people down there that crash every year, probably hundreds of them, because it's a bad experience, you know. I mean, to me, I don't find pleasure in going through 100 twisties. That just seems like asking for trouble, especially when everybody wants to go down there and do it, and you have oncoming traffic coming at you. Um, Even professional riders would have to take caution using that route. I won't do it. I just think it's ridiculous. I mean, I can ride around here and find turns and stuff that I can enjoy and sweep around. I don't have to go out looking for, hundreds of twisties to lean into. That's not my bag. That's not my deal. To me, it's just asking for trouble. And I think a lot of people end up in trouble doing that, unfortunately. So I asked the question again, where'd you learn how to ride? I mean, I started when I was a kid riding a bicycle. I used to, I don't know, I was probably about 8, 9, 10-year old when my dad bought me my first bicycle. And the first thing I did was it was one of these, probably like a Huffy 3-speed, a bigger bicycle. And I put the high 8-finger handlebars on there. I wanted it to look like a chopper. When I was a kid, I had pictures of choppers hanging on my bedroom wall. I'd pull them out of like Easy Riders magazines, and I would tape them up to right next to my bed. And so I always wanted to have a motorcycle. When I had the bicycle, that opened up that opportunity for me to be on 2 wheels. I'd put the playing card in the back spokes. It sounded like a motorcycle going down the road. And we lived in rural Ohio, so our county road, there was no traffic on it. So we rode our bicycles up and a mile up and down our county road. And I'd ride down there, and I would just be fantasizing that I had a whole gang of motorcycles behind me and I was the leader of the gang. As a kid, that's what I did. Eventually, we started building our own mini bikes and rode them all. We had a big field across the street. It wasn't an agricultural field. It might have been at one time, but it was just kind of overgrown with weeds and stuff. And we had trails going all through that field, and we rode the mini bikes. And yeah, it was nothing like this one. This is pretty fancy compared to what we had. The one mini bike we had, you had to put the frame up on a cement block because it had no clutch. It was direct drive. The chain went right from the motor to the sprocket on the rear tire. So you had to start it, and the back wheel would be spinning, and then we would jump it off the block and run alongside of it and jump on it and then take off. And then you had to reach down under your seat and hold the throttle with your finger to go faster. So you're pretty much riding with one hand. And there was a lot of crashes with that. Some knee limping injuries, I would say. Did you ever hit your knee real hard and it hurts so bad you think you're going to vomit? And you just kind of limp out of it, and you're like, yeah, there was a lot of that as kids, but that's how we learned how to ride. Eventually, we bought a Honda Mini Trail 70, and Honda actually has a bike that looks similar to that now. It's called the Daz, I think, or something like that, and it's more of a street type of a motorcycle, but it has the same style. And that's a 125. The one we had was a 70cc. And we rode that thing all through the trails. And then eventually, I bought this bike brand new in 1972. It's a 1973 model. And rode that thing every day. I rode it in the field every day. Eventually got my driver's motorcycle permit on this thing. And was able to ride on the road, and I've had a motorcycle endorsement ever since, and have ridden I don't know, numerous different types of motorcycles in my life. And of course, eventually ended up with my Harley Davidson that I bought in 1998 and have been riding this one ever since. And I've been riding enough that, I consider myself a pretty good rider. I'm as comfortable on my bike as I am driving my truck. People say, oh, riding a motorcycle is so dangerous. For me, I don't see it that way. When I go out riding this truck, I don't think, it doesn't even cross my mind that I'm in any danger or anything. I mean, accidents do happen, but I'm always cautious. I'm always looking for other traffic, especially at crossroads or intersections. I know there's people that run red lights, and I'm always kind of, looking for stuff like that. But I don't have a big concern of getting in a crash in my truck any more than I do on my motorcycle, because I'm so comfortable with it, because I've spent my whole life on those two wheels. And now my focus is on what I see ahead of me on the road. What's on the road ahead? What I have to look forward to. Is that car going to pull out in front of me, or is he going to stop? I'm preparing for that ahead of time. There's a curve coming up. Is there gravel on the road? Is it slippery? Is it wet? Is there oil on the road? All those things are already going through my head before I get there, and I'm prepared to negotiate whatever comes ahead on the road. I have had my times of dropping the bike. I will say, though, in all humbleness, that a lot of those situations I was inebriated. I had drank too much back in my younger days. The only time I laid my Harley down, I was not drunk. I ran off the highway in Des Moines, Iowa, and was lucky to survive that crash. I was literally going 70 mile an hour when a car just sideswiped me and pushed me right off the highway in the dark at night, and over the embankment I went, and pretty much thought that was the end of my life, but somehow, God willing, saved my life. I give Jesus the credit for that, because as I went off into the darkness that night, the only thing that came in my mind was the name of Jesus, and I said, Jesus, save me, Jesus, save me, Jesus, save me, and he did. My life was saved that night. My bike was a little worse for the wear and tear, though. I wouldn't be riding it out of there. It had to be towed out of there, and there was a lot of damage to the bike, and so it was completely, basically rebuilt. The only thing original on my bike is the engine and the frame. Most everything else had been replaced as a result of that crash. So I'm looking forward to a good riding season coming up. We got a whole summer ahead of us, a lot of riding, and I'm looking forward to it. I would hope that if you are a motorcyclist, that you would consider being very, very cautious on your bike. If you don't have the skills to ride, maybe it's not the thing for you. Maybe if you're considering, some of these guys hit their middle-age crisis, and that's when they decide, hey, you know what, I'm going to get a Harley, and I'm going to be a Harley rider. And that's not a wise decision. I mean, honestly, it's not. If you don't have any experience at riding, you probably shouldn't be considering that, because it's probably just going to be kind of a fly-by-night thing. You're going to spend all your money on that motorcycle. You're going to ride it for a little while. Then you're going to realize that it's not something you're super interested in. I mean, if you haven't had an interest in it from the time you were a kid, what makes you think all of a sudden now it's going to be something you're going to stick with? It's just going to be more of a little thing that you try, and then you're going to just realize that you don't really like it. So don't waste your time. I'm not going to encourage anybody in their older age to learn how to ride, because I don't think it's a good idea. Well, cats, I'm going to put a wrap on this today and get out of here. It's going to be a crappy day, rainy, snow expected. I'm going to go meet up with some of my biker buddies and hang out for a little while where it's warm and dry. Anyways, I got a lot going on. Busy, staying busy, finding other things to do in the meantime, waiting for the weather to get better, and hopefully I'll see you guys out on the road. Until next time, I'll catch you later.